Good evening and welcome to the Monday, October 27th, 2025 Maplewood City Council meeting. I want to start off tonight by talking about a great event that we had here on Saturday, right out here in our parking lot at City Hall. And there are a number of people that made that huge trunk or treat event work. It was a huge success. There were so many people, some of the cutest costumes I think I've ever seen, including on some of our public safety officers. Those were pretty good costumes. But I want to start out thanking Barb Johnson. She is our community outreach specialist, and Barb plays a really big role in bringing, there she is back there. Thanks, Barb, for putting together just a huge, successful community event. Everyone had so much fun. The weather held off, and there was so much candy that was passed out. The dental clinics in town are going to be very happy. But anyway, it was a wonderful event. I want to thank our police and fire personnel. They not only did they have great costumes, but they had creepy venues kind of set up where you could walk through a tent and creepy things. It was really very fun. Parks and Rec were there. They had the creepy hand thing from the Addams Family. Communications was there. Joe and Kevin were there taking pictures of everything. And I also want to say thank you to our Public Works staff for setting the whole thing up. For helping with all of the flow, and it was a huge success. And everyone had so much fun. There were so many smiling faces, and it was just a great event. So that was something, when trunk or treat happens, snow is not far behind, but it was a very nice thing to have in the fall to get the community out. So we need to start our official meeting. We've got some exciting things happening tonight, and we've got a number of people that are here for the retirement of Ronan, I believe. But first I want to ask Isabel and Emma if they would come up and help us with our Pledge of Allegiance. Welcome. This is Isabel and Emma, and I understand that you are going to be a dog owners possibly tonight. Is that right? Yeah. So everyone, would you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Emma and Isabel, would you please lead us? I pledge allegiance of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We really appreciate your help. City Clerk Sint, would you do the roll call for us?
Councilmember Juniman.
Here.
Councilmember Lee.
Present.
Councilmember Villavicencio.
Here.
Councilmember Cave.
Here.
Mayor Abrams.
I am here as well. And I don't want to short-sight anybody. I had my phone pulled up, but Barb sent me these. I also want to thank some outside folks that came and helped, excuse me, including the Maplewood YMCA. They were there with passing out candy. The Maplewood North Lions Club was there. Oakdale Athletics was there. Northeast United Soccer Club was out in the parking lot at Trunk or Treat. Sam's Club was there helping, and Sam's gave us a $100 gift card that was used to purchase candy. They also donated many bags of candy during the event. We had Tureen Dermatology who participated, 622 Early Learning, Early Childhood Family Education, ECFE, and also St. Paul Regional Water was there, and Forest Lake High School girls hockey team were there passing out candy too. So it doesn't happen with just one person putting these things together. This was a huge staff event and a huge community event. So thank you for that. I wanted to make sure I got that in there. So council members, we have an agenda that we need to approve. Would someone make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Lee, the motion to approve the agenda. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Next, we have the approval of the minutes from the October 13th, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Would someone like to make a motion?
I move approval.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve the October 13th, 2025 City Council Workshop meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have the October 13th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Will someone make a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Juniman, the motion to approve the October 13th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving down to our council calendar update, Mr. Darrow, you are sitting in for Mr. Sable tonight.
I am.
I'll turn it over to you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Just a couple quick updates. November 10th, there's a work session to discuss the YMCA, some ongoing conversations with them. We've got department budget presentations by the police on the 24th, budget presentations for IT, Public Works, and Community Development. And then we wrap things up on December 8th with a Truth in Taxation hearing for 2026. Some community events that are forecasted in December. The Rice Larpenteur Winter Warm-Up will be Saturday, December 13th from 1 to 3. And the Santa Parade is Saturday, December 20th from 9 until 1. That's all I've got.
Okay. Any questions for Mr. Darrow? We have no council presentations tonight. We have what everyone in the audience, or most everyone in the audience, is here for, the retirement of Canine Officer Ronan. Chief, this is your topic. Ronan's pretty excited about retirement.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council.
Good evening.
Before we honor Canine Ronan this evening, I'd like to take a moment to reflect on the proud history of the Maplewood Police Department's Canine Unit. Our Canine program was founded back in 1977, nearly 5 decades ago. And since that time, only 12 officers have had the honor of serving as Maplewood Canine Handlers. Each of them, along with their canine partners, has carried on a legacy of courage, dedication, and excellence that continues to define this department today. Our canine program embodies the mission of our department: service, protection, and partnerships. Canines also play a critical role in public safety, enhancing our capabilities in ways that technology or staffing alone cannot. These dogs are truly force multipliers, tracking suspects, locating missing persons, detecting narcotics, and most honorably, they are trained to sacrifice their lives in the service of protecting those who protect others. Beyond their operational value, I have seen firsthand how these canine teams strengthen the bond between law enforcement and the community, serving as a visible symbol of trust, discipline, and teamwork. Ronan's excited tonight because we gather to recognize the latest chapter in that legacy. To honor a remarkable member of the Maplewood Police Department, Canine Ronan and his handler, Sergeant Joe DeMulling, for their dedicated partnership and service to the Maplewood community. Canine Ronan has been more than a police service dog. He has been a steadfast partner, a trusted guardian, and a symbol of the very best in public service. Together, he and Sergeant DeMulling have answered hundreds of calls and made positive connections with countless kids and community members. Through every challenge, they have represented the courage, commitment, and professionalism that defines our department. Sergeant DeMulling will soon transition into his new role as Police Administrative Sergeant, where his leadership and experience will continue to serve our department in a new capacity. Given Ronan's age and the deep bond he and Sergeant DeMulling share, I have made the decision, and Ronan has made the decision, to not reassign him to another handler, but instead allow him to retire honorably at home by Joe's side, exactly where I feel he belongs. The bond between a canine and their handler is unlike any other. It's built on a trust that cannot be spoken, only lived by the handler and his partner. I cannot measure canine service in hours or miles, but instead I measure it in the lives protected, fears calmed, and the peace and mind he's brought to officers and residents. Canine Ronan, you came to serve. You stayed to protect, and he leaves here tonight having done both. So on behalf of the City of Maplewood and the entire Public Safety Department, please join me in thanking Ronan for his years of service, unwavering dedication, and for every protective bark. At this time, I'd like to invite Sergeant DeMulling, along with Canine Ronan, to step forward and say a few words for the council.
Are you sure he's ready for retirement?
Thanks, Chief. Madam Mayor, Council. I'll keep it real short and sweet. He wants to run. I just want to start by thanking you, Mayor, and the Council for your support. I'd like to thank the Chief and my fellow officers who showed up here tonight, and all the and the Maplewood community for their support of the canine program over the years that I've had the opportunity to serve as a canine handler. It's been an honor to serve in this role through all the challenges, long hours, and ongoing training. Despite those long hours and intense work, it's been the most rewarding aspect of my career so far. Having Ronan as a partner has been a privilege. It's been a challenge at times, more so a privilege. He's been dependable, driven partner, always ready to work in any situation we face together. I have no doubt that he has kept myself and my fellow partners safe on countless occasions. Lastly, I'd just like to thank him for his energy, his loyalty, his service, and his just being a good partner.
Thank you. First, we have to do motions. Yeah, we have to do motions and then we'll do photo. Okay. Council members, there are two motions that are before us. Would someone like to make the first one?
I move to approve the attached resolution pertaining to the retirement and ownership of Maplewood Service Dog Canine Ronan.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve the resolution pertaining to the retirement and ownership of Maplewood Service Dog Canine Ronan. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. There's one more motion.
Motion to approve the attached agreement to assume an ownership of retired canine.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Cave, the motion to approve the attached agreement to assume ownership of retired canine. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Ronan, you are retired effective November 1st. We're going to take some pictures. Is that all right?
Sure.
It's better you retire.
And Isabel and Emma, you now have a pet. Looks very fun.
So I have a
Got
question.
a lot of energy still.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Question?
Just, are we looking at getting another one in?
Chief, can you reply to that?
We are looking at it. Schools are twice a year, and so we won't make this time, but next fall, we're looking at, so about a year from now, will be the next major school we could probably get into. So,
Okay.
yes, we have 2 canines. Typically, we've had up to 3, but typically we have 2 running on the A side and the B side, and so within the next year, we should have another one going.
Okay, great.
Thank you. It's always a favorite swearing in and
The
love those
romance.
canines, right. Okay, next we have a resolution of appreciation for Nancy Edwards and Mr. Love. You were going to do this?
Yes, Mayor and Council. So the resolution for Nancy Edwards reads as follows. Whereas Nancy Edwards has been a member of the Maplewood Environmental and Natural Resource Commission for 2 years and 4 months, serving from February 13th, 2023 to June 17th, 2025. Ms. Edwards has served faithfully in those capacities, and whereas during her term on the Environmental and Natural Resource Commission, Ms. Edward helped guide city environmental ordinances and policies, including the Green Building Code, climate mitigation planning process, city solid waste and energy programs, and assisted with the Commission's environmental education and outreach. Whereas the Environmental and Natural Resource Commission and the City Council have appreciated her experience, insights, and good judgment. And whereas Ms. Edwards has freely given her time and energy without compensation for the betterment of the city of Maplewood. And whereas Ms. Edwards has dedicated to her duties and has consistently contributed her leadership and effort for the benefit of the city. Now therefore, it is hereby resolved for and on behalf of the city of Maplewood, Minnesota, and its citizens that Nancy Edwards is hereby extended our gratitude and appreciation for her dedicated service.
Thank you. Council members, would someone like to make the motion?
I move the resolution of appreciation for Nancy Edwards from the Environmental and Natural Resources Commission.
Second. Moved by Juniman, seconded by Villavicencio. The motion to approve the resolution of appreciation for Nancy Edwards, Environmental and Natural Resources Commission. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Moving on to our consent agenda. Is there a motion?
I motion consent agenda items G1 through 9.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman. Consent agenda items G1 through 9. Is there any further discussion? Councilmember Juniman.
I have just one question regarding number 6.
Number 6. Okay, number 6, I think, is that
Oh,
Mr. Martin? Let's hear from you.
I just want to make sure that that issue is really dead.
Mayor and Council, are we talking about the
Yeah, we're talking about
stormwater
the, yes, the
management?
stormwater
So
problem.
yeah, throughout last year, the 2 property owners continue to work together. Menards made improvements on the east side of their property next to the car dealership. And then they were waiting to see this spring and throughout the summer. There's plenty of rain throughout
Yes.
those seasons. And so both systems were working and checking with our engineering department. There has been no feedback. So we do feel that the issue has been addressed.
Thank you.
That's good news.
Yes.
Okay, so there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor of consent agenda items G1 through 9 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Next, we have a public hearing, and Ms. Parr, you are the presenter.
That is correct. Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. We'll get the overhead pulled up and then we'll get started. We have a much larger conversation that'll be coming up later on the agenda in regards to Century Ponds, but this is an important aspect of that, so we're going to start with this. Earlier, our Planning Commission held public hearing in relation to a number of requests by the applicant. One of them that we need to have the council handle is the one that we're going to talk about right now. So first, I'll just mention the overall plan unit development is 133 detached single-family homes, 73 townhome units. As you know, this is located in the southwest quadrant of Lower Afton Road and Century Avenue South. You can see it in the red outline on the overhead there. This is the former Ponza Battle Creek Golf Course. It's just over 92 acres. The applicant is requesting a public vacation. We're required to hold that public hearing before the City Council. This request will remove the wetland buffer easement that is not aligned with the location of the existing wetland. When the wetlands were delineated, it was recognized, so thus we want to remove that. And at a later time, we will see the location of the updated, we'll just draw your attention to it on the overhead. Those yellow areas you can see that were also outlined in your packet, that is the area, the easement area that is needing to be vacated. And then you can see the new wetland buffer boundary, the blue area, that'll be part of the final plat that will come before you at a later date. So that is the specific subject matter of the public hearing tonight. We're not talking about any other aspects of this particular PUD or any other requests that play along with this. This is specifically related to the wetland vacation of those easements. And with that, I'll turn it over to you, Mayor, to open the public hearing if you find it appropriate.
Okay. First, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Parr concerning the easement, the vacation of the easement? Any questions for her? Okay, I don't see any questions from council. Then with that, I am going to open up the public hearing concerning Century Ponds proposed development 601 Century Avenue South, the public vacation of an easement resolution. And I see City Clerk Sint is coming forward with a list of people who would like to speak. Is there anyone who would like to present concerning the public vacation of the easement? Is there anyone who would like to speak concerning the public vacation of the easement? Okay, with that, there is no one that is intending on speaking, and so I am going to close the public hearing. Council members, this is our opportunity to discuss, and we do have a motion before us. Would someone like to start out concerning, this is limited to the discussion of the vacation of the easement.
I move to approve a resolution for the public vacation of an easement.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Lee, the motion to approve a resolution for the public vacation of an easement. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. The next agenda item, under unfinished business, we're moving on to the budget presentation for our fire EMS department. Chief Mondor, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This evening, I'll be presenting the Fire EMS Department's 2026 budget overview. The 2026 budget represents 13.65% of the general fund budget, representing the fire portion of those costs. Some of the key initiatives that we'll be focusing on in this budget are implementation of the staffing plan, enhanced firefighter health, safety, and wellness, broadening community connections, leveraging evolving technology, and professional development. This slide represents $25.12. That's what the fire EMS service costs the median value home in 2026. Our organizational chart, under the leadership of the Public Safety Director, we have the Fire and EMS Chief, newly formed data analyst, Fire Marshal, and Administrative Assistant. Our line staff, those that get the work done, are down below there, where we have a battalion chief overseeing each shift. Those battalion chiefs report to an assistant fire chief, and then there's two captains and firefighters on each shift, A, B, and C shift. They work 24-hour rotating shifts. We also have a fire EMS cadet, which is the Pathways program to introducing people that have traditionally not entered the workforce. We have one of those positions on each shift as well. Some of our key accomplishments in 2025, we were recently in front of you talking about the fiscal year 2024 SAFER grant, which will fund 6 new firefighter positions. It's a critical step in enhancing our staffing levels and implementing our multi-year staffing plan. Also, we continue to develop the Fire EMS Cadet Program. The program has created pathways for several people that had no training to enter the workforce as a full-time fire EMS professional. Community connections, we have a continued focus on building community connections, and staff spend a collective of over 1,000 hours of staff time annually planning community outreach, education, and engagement events. Community events like we just highlighted, the trunk or treat that had an estimated over like 2,500 participants in that event in partnership with the police department and others. Initiatives such as Community Connect, which allow homeowners to enter information that's accessible to our fire EMS professionals in the event that they need to call 911. That technology was leveraged over the past couple of years. Technology enhancements, continued implementation of a fire software program that's called First Do, where we integrate fire and EMS management into pre-plans, events, community engagement. And in 2025 into 26, all fire departments in the United States will have to transition to the National Emergency Response Information System. We needed another acronym, so NERIS is a requirement that we'll be implementing as part of this budget. We've also integrated Echo Data Solutions, which is a real-time platform that takes all of our different data sources and allows us to make data-driven decisions and inform our decisions as we're operationalizing our plans. Enhanced community risk reduction initiatives, continued expansion of our community paramedic and research-based programs addressing high-risk populations. This year we participated in 2 different fall studies, one with Ohio State University, which focused on people that experience falls in their home, and we just implemented a pilot with Regions Hospital that focuses on a targeted high-frequency assisted living facility that helps address the incidence of falls, how we can better intervene and provide support to people in different living settings in our community, as we know that falls have continued to be a demand on our public safety resources. Related to opioid overdoses, we've started an out-of-hospital Suboxone program, which is a medication that our providers can administer or give to people that are experiencing overdose and bridge them to treatment. We also have implemented Narcan leave-behind kits so that if somebody does experience an overdose and needs Narcan, that we give them and their family some resources to help prevent that from occurring in the future. We've participated in Governor's Fire Prevention Day, continued emphasis at the local, regional, and state level, trying to put us on the map for risk reduction initiatives. Professional development opportunities, continued investment in career growth. This year we completed a series with Ethical Leaders in Action. We have several credentialed fire officers through the Center for Public Safety Excellence and have invested in level up leadership programs, building leadership at each level in the organization, regardless of what it says on your nameplate or what kind of collar brass you wear. 2 of our paramedic students earned the Century College's Most Outstanding Student Award, which is the highest performing student in their different cohorts. 2 out of the 3, those were the only 2 that had Maplewood students in them, and both of those students won the Most Outstanding Student Award. Continued participation at state and national conferences and representation of the state across the board. And then we continue to see how the investments in staffing have allowed us to sustain our response time compliance at 90% of the time, 8 minutes or less. We're at 93% over and over since we've seen these staffing investments, and these continued investments will allow us to continue to be resilient in the face of increasing call demands. We've also worked with different stakeholders to level out mutual aid reliance, and we've seen progress. We want to see continued progress on that front, but staff efforts have helped maintain Maplewood resources being utilized on a mutual basis. The fire EMS budget increases are predominantly associated with staffing enhancements, with 11% of increase in fire and 10% in the ambulance fund. The budget impacts includes a shared position with HR and admin with a data analyst that supports data tracking, performance measurement, and strategic decision-making related to operations and safety. The implementation of our long-range staffing plan through the local match funding for the SAFER grant, the addition of a firefighter in the 2026 budget, and contractual wage adjustments and leave accruals. Employee health and wellness initiatives. We aim to be first in employee health and wellness. This budget includes Ready Rebound, which is a health and recovery program for first responders. The continued study of a fatigue science, so fatigue study, another research project that we're part of with the University of Minnesota doctoral student and staff. Continuation of enhanced firefighter medical screenings, and the expansion of our mental health and wellness programming for staff. Like I had mentioned, technology upgrades, the implementation of Nearest in First Due. Over the next couple of years, we're working on getting all of our platforms. When staff start with the fire department, there's about 12 different platforms that they have to log into. We're trying to get that all under one technology solution so that we can have all those solutions talk to each other more seamlessly and reduce the amount of software suites that staff have to interact with. There's also some requests to increase in supplies and materials to replace aging fire hose tools and some gas monitoring and battery-operated tool technology, and then additional funding to continue our investments in training and professional development. Looking ahead, we're going to continue to focus on leveling up at each level of the organization and developing our firefighters, our captains, our cadets, our battalion chiefs, and chief staff. Enhanced health, wellness, and safety initiatives to be first in employee health and wellness. Our screening, a large part of that budget is to have the best firefighter screening around to address the big three of mental health, cancer, and cardiac-related illness in firefighters. Continued representation at the local, state, and regional and national level. We have staff that present at state fire chiefs conferences, are represented at the International Association of Fire Chiefs, and we continue to be on the cutting edge of fire and emergency services. We're going to put a renewed focus on emergency preparedness and education for both staff and our community. As I had mentioned, implementation of the staffing plan and SAFER grant, the implementation of emerging pre-hospital care initiatives. So I mentioned a couple of those. We're also in a research study with Regions Hospital for the role that ultrasound can play in firefighter rehabilitation after they're fighting a fire. And then we're in the process of implementing a whole blood program so that people in the street that suffer severe traumatic injuries wouldn't have to wait until they reach the emergency department doors to get whole blood. So we're bringing that to the street, and there's more to come on that, but that's included in our budget proposal. Continue regional partnerships. So we've been working hard over the past several years for the East Metro Public Safety Training Facility Expansion Project. We're going to continue to work on that, and we've seen positive inroads over the past couple of years. We keep getting closer and closer to that increased bonding funding, and we're hopeful that we can get that across the finish line in 2026. And then we will continue our commitment to community outreach, engagement, and really we've tried this year to enhance community voice. We started with the faith-based community, but we're going to try to expand that and allow all of our community members, meet them where they're at, and give them voice and opportunity to reflect on what does good service look like to you, what does excellence, exceptional service look like to you, and how can we better interact with the different people in the community to meet their needs. With that, I would entertain any questions, Mayor and Council.
Council members, any questions for Fire Chief Mondorf? Thank you for the report. I have to say it's very impressive.
Oh, your mic's on.
Oh. And we can feel very confident that our community is protected with all of the hard work and the innovation that you are bringing to our department, so thank you for that. I don't see that there are any other questions, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have new business. We have the Wakefield Park Community Building Solar Project. And Steve Love, this is your project or your topic tonight?
Yes, Mayor and Council, I'm excited to bring this item forward to Council. The 2025 CIP included $100,000 for the installation of a solar system to be installed on the Wakefield building. You might recall that the Wakefield building was constructed in 2020, and it was actually designed to be solar ready. Staff did go out and get 4 quotes for a solar system. They ranged from $70,000 to $88,000. And they have an annual energy offset of 95% to 112% of the energy for the Wakefield building. Staff recommends Minnesota Solar proposal. Its total cost is $70,125. This includes the installation of 66 panels and 3 inverters, and I learned that inverters convert it from DC to AC, which is AC is what is usable by the building itself. The proposal also includes a 30-year warranty on the solar panels, a 12-year warranty on the inverters, and a 10-year warranty on the workmanship. So we're pretty happy to see this project come forward with that type of a warranty. To help potentially lower the cost for the city, there were 2 items. One is the project is eligible for a solar on public buildings grant. And so this is a grant is available to any local government unit looking to install solar on a public building. So Wakefield qualifies for that. Earlier this year, staff submitted a readiness assessment for Wakefield, and we did get contacted by the Minnesota Department of Commerce that we passed that readiness, and they invited us to apply for the full grant. If successful, this would reduce the city's costs by about $42,000. So we're hopeful for that. The project is also eligible for a federal investment tax credit. So this would be about 30% of the overall project, which would come in at about $21,000. This credit, to be eligible for the credit, it requires a couple things. You have to be in a contract with a contractor. You have to pay them a 5% deposit. And the work has to be begin before mid-2026. The solar contractor that we're recommending, Minnesota Solar, they're very much aware of these requirements. They also will help us write the grant for the solar on public buildings grant. So if successful in both of these, the city's share would be reduced down to about $7,000. So that would be our best case scenario, but our worst case scenario is we don't get any of that, and we still have the funds in our CIP. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. And the timing, based on the application deadline, this is very timely. I'm glad that we're able to talk about this tonight. And it's exciting. It's an exciting prospect that we would be able to put solar on the Wakefield building. Council members, is there any questions? Are there any questions? Hearing none, then we've got 2 motions before us. Would someone like to make them?
Motion of support for the solar on public buildings grant application with the Minnesota Department of Commerce.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman, the motion of support for the solar on public buildings grant application with the Minnesota Department of Commerce. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. There's one other motion.
Motion to approve the Wakefield Park Community Building Solar System contract with Minnesota Solar and direct the mayor and city manager to sign the contract. Minor revisions as approved by the city attorney are authorized as needed.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Juniman, the motion as written in our packet concerning the contract with Minnesota Solar. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you, and that is exciting to get solar on Wakefield. Next, we have the Century Ponds proposed development at 601 Century Avenue South. Ms. Parr, this is your topic tonight.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members of the council. I will present tonight, but it is a collective team effort. JJ, Steve, Michael, as well as our attorney, have spent a lot of time on this, so we're going to all tag team it this evening. But I will walk you through the slides. As you probably noted when you went through the staff report, a ton of detail. So we're going to talk really high level, and then we'll come on back to any areas you want to talk further, or you have questions on, or you want us to provide clarity on those, and we're happy to do that, okay? So we'll just talk very high level. As I mentioned in the previous conversation we had about the wetland easement vacation. This is 133 detached single-family homes, 73 townhome units. It's located, for anyone that missed it earlier, it is located at the southwest quadrant of Lower Afton Road and Century Avenue South. You see the red outline there. This came previously before you as a concept. It has changed a little bit since then to incorporate some of the feedback that they received from the council at that time, and we'll go through that. It is the former site of the ponds at Battle Creek Golf Course, as you're aware. It's just over 92 acres. We are looking at 6 motions this evening. However, the actual land use request you'll see is the comp plan amendment, the rezoning to PUD, wetland buffer variance, preliminary plat, and design review. There's also one more in respect to the publication summary. So just to clarify that, we'll talk about that at the end. So what brought us here today? As many of you are well aware, in 2019, Ramsey County closed the golf course. In 2020 and 21, the city of Maplewood and Ramsey County engaged in community in talking with our residents in regards to what that development site could potentially hold and to get feedback in relation to that. Ultimately, Ramsey County approved a purchase agreement with D.R. Horton, which brought us obviously to here this evening. The applicant held 6 neighborhood meetings in August, October, November, and December of 2024. They were well attended, we are told. And August of 2025, the EAW, that environmental assessment worksheet, came before the council. A lot of detail in regards to the environmental aspects, which have been incorporated as part of the preliminary plat process as well. And the council found that no additional environmental review was needed for that. So the development itself, as I mentioned, is 133 single-family homes. You can see that in the northern portion, the yellow area towards the top. And while this is one development, because of the wetlands and the extensive areas that we want to preserve, it does lend itself to have 2 distinct areas, which is the single family to the north, and then to the south you see the 73 townhomes. With those single family homes to the north, there are 2 or 3 car garages depending on the unit, and then with the townhome, the southern end, there's 2 car garages. We'll talk a little bit about that when we talk about parking a little bit later. The overall site has 42.57 acres of outlot. There's public park, there's obviously just over 1.5 acres, which we will talk more about. There is the wetlands, which are 10.5 acres approximately, and then the public conservation easement areas. You can see in the green areas extensively, those conservation easement areas. The city will hold those public conservation easements. The maintenance responsibility will initially fall to the developer, and then over time it will later transition to the homeowners association. The roles and the responsibilities will be detailed in the homeowners association documents, and at a future time, you will see this again as a final plat if you choose to approve this tonight, and then you will also see a developer's agreement as a part of that, and that is very detailed, much more detailed than what you're even seeing tonight in relation to the responsibilities of the developer and ultimately the things the homeowners association will do over time. However, the conservation easement will be held by the city to assure that if for any reason there was a failure on the part of the homeowners association or any other issues, it would be a protected area. Some of the other things I'll point out, as you can see the townhomes to the south there, that's private streets, and then the single family to the north are public. There's also 1.8 miles of public paved trails. You can see those, they're kind of the orangish brown that runs along the west side, the north side, and kind of throughout, particularly as you get to the south there. The first aspect of the request is a comprehensive plan amendment. Currently, the future land use shows as parks. Obviously, that was a golf course. There wasn't an anticipation at that time that the golf course would change, and for that reason, that was what the future land use was designated, and the zoning was farm. The applicant is proposing to re-guide to low-density residential. In the 2040 comprehensive plan, that would be 2.6 to 6 units per acre. The proposed development net density is 4.15 units per acre, so they fall within that. And you can see very clearly from the map, the area of the green there, that's the park area for the designation, that bright green. As far as the proposed guide, R1, the small lot, single-family dwelling district for the single-family homes to the north, and the R3C residents, basically the townhomes to the south, is what we look at in relation to that. Ultimately, it will be zoned PUD, Plan Unit Development. We don't have a ton of those that come through, but when you go to our zoning ordinance and you were to say, someone were to call and say, can you tell me what the guidelines are for low-density residential? Whatever the zoning for any of our different designations, we would tell them what they are. We've got a nice table that tells you what they are. In the case of this, it's a plan unit development. It's very specific to this development. However, it closely aligns with the R1S small lot for the single family, and it aligns closely with the R3C in relation to the townhomes. And we'll talk more about what those specific things are in great detail. So, as I mentioned, the purpose of a PUD, which is what this is to provide some flexibility that are specific to this project. Two of those things are to encourage efficient use of the land, public services, and greater amenities, and then promote development that is equal to or surpassing quality of developments resulting from the application of conventional zoning standards. When you look at this, obviously, we have some massing of the neighborhood in two areas. Part of the reason for that, obviously, is to allow the preservation of the wetland complex that is throughout, and to also allow for some buffering from other adjacent areas and protection of some of the areas long-term, obviously, that are part of that conservation easement. Rezoning to a PUD creates a new zoning district, as I mentioned. The standards are adopted in the city code, and future changes within that PUD must follow the standards set forth for the PUD. They're very specific. Each new PUD district is specific to that once it's adopted, and all the things that support it will come back to you, particularly as part of the final plat. So let's talk specifically about the rezoning of the PUD. What does that mean? We want to draw your attention to one thing that has been updated since the packet went out. The plat, which is really the most important aspect of this, is unchanged. That is correct. But we notice the square footages slightly needed to be tweaked. We want to make sure that's accurate. So you will find that your resolution of approval that was set up at your dais there so you could see those, and it's been updated on this overhead as well. So we'll kind of walk through that. And so you can just see really what the differences are so you understand how this PUD is a little bit tweaked to meet the needs of this particular development versus straight conventional zoning. The lot area standards. So if you look to the left, you'll see the lot area for a typical R1S small lot. So this is a single family area to the north we're talking about. For a typical one, it would be 7,500 square feet. Now there are two sizes of lots that you'll see in that area. One is a 55-foot wide lot, and the other is a 65-foot wide lot. The lot area minimum for the 55 would be 6,435 square feet, and the 65-foot would be 8,433 square feet, which is, if you were following with your report, slightly changed. We just want to make sure it's accurate, so we just called it out for you tonight. As far as lot width, 60 foot is a typical. In this case, it's 55 feet and 65 feet, just as we indicated by the width of the lots. The corner lots, the minimum was 85 feet for typical. In this case, it's 65 feet and 75 feet. And then the lot depth is 120 feet or 130. As far as setbacks, 30 to 35 feet is traditional. In this case, it's 30 feet for both. 20% of the lot depth is for rear. In this case, it's 30 feet standard for both. And then for the side setbacks, 5 and 10. In this case, it's 7.5, 7.5 in both cases. And then the side corner, 30 feet. In this case, it's 20 feet and 20 feet for both of those. Okay? As far as the foundation area, typically, we see that from the building, it's 528 to 950 square footage, depending on the house type that's being located in that envelope for building. In this case, they're not asking for any changes from that. They all are in compliance with that. Same thing for the building width of 21 feet. And then for the building lot coverage max, that 30% is what's typical. In this case, it's 40% for both. And some of that comes back to obviously wanting to create and preserve those open areas around the project as well. As far as rezoning to PUD, the lot size and standards for the PUD, as you can see on the overhead, the front from the private roads 30 feet, the rear 20 feet, the sides 20 feet, and the dwelling to dwelling 20 feet. And then the floor area, there's no flexibility being required as a part of the townhomes that's being asked for. Okay, access and circulation. We want to spend a little time talking about this because a lot of time went into talking this through and getting to where we are today in respect to that. As you can see, the single-family homes, they are accessed off Lower Afton Road on the north there. You can see the red where it points that out. You'll also see on the east side the Century Avenue access to get there that you can see on the overhead there. And those are public streets, 60 feet right away, and the street itself is 28 feet in width. When you look at the townhomes, the access is via Linwood Avenue to the south there at the bottom of the slide. These are private streets. They will be maintained by the HOA, and they're 26 feet in width. There is no street connection between the north and the south. As I indicated earlier, it could be contemplated. However, there would be impacts to the wetland area that obviously we wouldn't necessarily support, obviously. And then the trail connections between both sides of the development to the existing residential areas to the west. And the idea of connections for the trails is obviously we want people to be able to access other parks nearby. There's 2 nearby parks, and we want to provide access for people to get to those. The one thing I will mention, because it has been talked about a lot, is the Linwood Avenue access there and to the townhomes. We've spent a lot of time talking about that with individuals. We know there's a concern in relation to that. We would have liked to have seen an access point for public safety and whatnot in relation to Century Avenue. However, in talking with the county, and I know you saw probably a letter that indicated the wish that we could have had that, they, because of sight lines and the curve, if you look at the site, Century curves quite a bit, and the sight lines become problematic. There's also issues in relation to the nearby intersection and from a spacing requirement. And so we understand it. It's not what we had to remove that, just to be aware. As far as parking standards, excuse me, typically it's 2 spaces per single family and then 2 spaces per townhome, at least one has to be covered. In the case of the proposed project, the single family have 2 or 3 car garages depending on the unit that they purchase. The townhomes are 2 car garages. And as you can see on the left, or excuse me, the right-hand side of the screen, the public parking is called out. The top visual, you can see those are the 6 spaces adjacent to the park. And then on the lower layout, you can see the townhome guest parking. There are a number of space areas where there is a number of different parking that adds up to 28 spaces in total in relation to that. The street parking is allowed on one side of the street on both public and private streets. And then obviously at night, it's not allowed overnight on the public street, but during the day, it's allowed on both. The developer has done a traffic analysis in relation to the adjacent roadways. We have also brought in an independent engineering firm to look at the traffic analysis, and they concurred that it is appropriate in regards to the traffic, particularly AM, PM peak times, that it will, the roadways have been built to accommodate this type of development. The building heights, they're not asking for any flexibility in relation to that. The maximum height is 35 feet. As you look at the green space, we've broken it up. You can clearly see that the total green space is 55.03% in the townhome area. The total townhome area is 11.92 acres. So over half of that is in green space, which is obviously a fair amount. As far as the entire site, the natural area, 26.8 acres. The wetlands makes up 10.5. The ponds is just over 4. The park is 1.73 acres. And that site as well has a total open space of 43.4 acres, 43.14 acres, which is a total of 46.77% preserved areas. So that's significant, obviously. As far as landscaping and screening, there are a number of recommendations that we will be asking to have incorporated in regards to that. The proposed tree preservation plan provides more caliper inches than is required for the mitigation. Our recommendations are more related to species type and location, as well as tree removal for specific DNR and U.S. Fish and Wildlife guidelines as well. And those are detailed in the staff report. As far as exterior materials, obviously all the single-family homes in the PUD must be approved. If you were to construct a home in the neighborhood and you look out onto the street, the 3 houses across the street and on both sides of you cannot match your house. That's something that we want incorporated, and the developer does as well, and that will be part of the developer's agreement and a requirement. As a part of that, as you can tell from your packet, there's an awful lot of offerings, so they're not all in here. But we just wanted to give you an idea of some of those. And you can see here's a few that are the larger ones, the 5-bedroom, 4-bath. This just gives you an idea. Excuse me, we're going to go back. Gives you an idea what some of those look like. A couple other things we wanted to point out. All units, they have to be constructed of materials that mitigate noise from adjacent shooting range that's nearby. There's also a requirement of a construction management plan. And what that entails, which our Public Works Director will determine if it's appropriate and if any changes are needed. That's going to speak to the hours. That's going to speak to timing. That's going to speak to a number of the things that need to be put in place in the agreement to make sure that dust is under control and that all the things that could impact the adjacent neighborhoods are being looked at. We are also going to be continuing on our mission to make sure that the neighborhood is aware, or beyond is aware, in regards to what's going on the site. So if people come to our website, they'll be kept abreast of what's going on in relation to timing and when grading, when some of those things are going to happen. That'll be dictated by the plan, which will also be on our website, which will allow people to have a better understanding of what's going on and when. Signage requirements, they have to meet the sign code, designed to be consistent in the matter with the building materials as well. Oh, we need to go back and talk a little bit about the interior for the townhomes, don't we? So let's take a minute and talk about the townhomes. You can see those at the bottom. They were also in your packet. We took this to the community, our design review board. They took a look at it. Staff made the recommendation that additional masonry should be included. It's coming up. Well, we're going to jump right to it because we're really excited about it. That there's additional, we wanted to have that four-sided architecture that we know is important, right? And so we pointed that out, and the CDRB took a look at it and concurred with that, and they asked for specific recommendations be put in place in regards to the percentages and the four-sided architecture. Since then, we have received plans that reflect that. And so with the council's approval, if you approve the project tonight, we ask that it just proceed and not have to go back because they've complied with what was asked of them. The wetland buffer variance. So they are requesting a variance to allow grading, removal of the existing trail and construction of the new trail, storm system enhancements, retaining walls, patios, and the turf grass in the townhouse portion. When you look at the overhead, if you look in the light blue tealish areas, that's the area we're talking about where the wetland buffer variance is being requested. And then the required wetland buffer area boundary you can see there in blue as well. Those are the areas we're talking about. The total required wetland buffer area is 714,514 square feet. The proposed variance area is 77,400 418 square feet in total there. And then the plat, aside from the flexibilities we talked about earlier through the PUD ordinance, the plat meets all of our minimum subdivision standards. At some point, this will come back to you if you approve this project as a final plat, and the final plat should largely mirror what you see here as far as the preliminary. There might be tweaks, but it'll largely look the same. And then as far as process, we had our engineering, environmental, and our public safety staff review the application and make comments, what you likely noted in your packet. We also had in a number of areas, two of these areas, as well as planning, the third area, we actually had an outside consultant come in just to confer, to make sure that there was nothing we were missing or anything additional we should be asking for above and beyond. Notifications were sent to 220 property owners within 500 feet of the property. September 16th, the CDRB, as I mentioned earlier, the recommended approval with a condition. September 16th, the Planning Commission held the public hearing and recommended approval. October 8th, the Environmental and Natural Resource Commission recommended approval as well. With the conditions of approval found in your report, staff is recommending approval of this project. And with that, I'll actually ask our attorney, Ron Beatty, if he has anything he'd like to add.
Mr. Beatty.
Madam Mayor, Council, yes, I just wanted to point out something that should be kept in mind when the votes come up. It's important for any land use application to be supported by findings. Those are the reasons for either supporting or denying an application. What you've got in your packet are resolutions, in this case, recommending approval, and so if items are approved, it's fairly simple. You simply adopt the resolution which includes those findings. Whenever there is a land use item, though, that requires an extraordinary vote, which is the case for the comprehensive plan, because that requires a 2/3 vote of the full council, in other words, 4 votes, you have the possibility that a simple majority will support the application, but not the requisite 2/3 majority. So you could get a 2/3, 2 to 3 vote in favor of an application, but that would constitute a denial of the application because it failed to get the 4th vote. In that case, it's important for the 2 members who are voting against the application to articulate on the record tonight their reasons for doing so. There won't be a resolution to come back later because, by definition, that's a minority position, so you won't be able to put together a resolution that can be brought back and adopted by a majority. So it's important tonight, if that happens, that the people voting against it articulate the reasons, because that will be the basis for the city's action. And if we're challenged in the future, then the courts will look at the reasons that are articulated by those folks tonight as the basis for the city's denial.
Thank you, Mr. Beatty. Council members, does anyone, I want to start off with questions for Danette about the presentation. We will then have no doubt, a robust discussion. We have 6 different recommended actions tonight. But first, does anyone have any questions for Ms. Parr? Councilmember Cave was first, I think?
Kind of just a comment. I want to appreciate how you guys did all this, put so much stuff together in a packet. And D.H. Horton also. When they first came to us, it was something that we turned down, and we stated what we were looking for on this property. We stated how important it was to interact with all.
Cave, can I just suggest if you have questions, we're going to get into the discussion in a minute, and I'll call on you. But do you have a question for Ms.
I
Parr?
guess no question.
Okay.
Specifically. Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember, then we'll,
Okay.
that way we can just kind of contain it.
Okay.
Councilmember Juniman, do you have a question?
I don't know if it's for Danette or for the developer, but I'll ask Danette. Under the environmental review, there were several corrections to what had been already submitted. Has the developer seen all these, and do they agree?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Councilmember Juniman. I believe they have, and they concur with those, but I will let them tell you that in person if that's not the case or is the case.
Welcome. Do you want to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Deb Ridgway with D.R. Horton. Our address is 20860 Kenbridge Court in Lakeville. Yes, we concur with the changes that were made following the AAW and the environmental review process. But I just wanted to say this has been a long journey, and we're happy to be in front of you again. And I do want to thank staff. We've had many meetings, many phone discussions, and here we are today. So we're here. There's a group of us here tonight, and hopefully we can answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you want to stay? I see
Sure,
one other light
sure.
up. Just first, Councilmember Juniman, did you have any other questions?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Lee, do you have a question?
Thank you, Mayor. This may be a question for our team here. There's been a lot of discussions and questions around traffic, and as I'm reading through this, it took me a minute to just really grasp the study that was done on here. Can you, or John, or one of you guys break down what the expected traffic, I mean, we hear it's the road that we have there can accommodate the traffic that's going to be coming through there, but what does all of this number mean? It's, my initial look at it was like French to me. I mean, speak a little French, but but I think that'll be helpful to kind of break down for our community members to see what that concern is.
Yes, certainly, Mayor and Council. As Danette mentioned, the developer did a traffic study. We also hired a consultant to do their own traffic study. Most of the conversation's been about Linwood. The ADT out there, so this is the average annual daily traffic volume, is about 1,707 vehicles a day. The road is considered a collector road in our system. Collector roads generally start with an ADT of around 1,000, and they can go up to 6,000 or potentially 15,000 if you're talking about also major collectors as well. The future ADT from the traffic study showed that an additional 506 trips would be added in a day on Linwood from the townhome. So this would increase the traffic volume up to about 2,200. So to give you some context on what that really means, Highwood Avenue to the south, which is a similar road, has a volume right now of 2,400. Upper Afton, just to the north, similar road, has a volume of 3,588. And Holloway, a little further north, is around 3,500. So those are all considered collectors by the city. They're all east-west collectors in between Century and McKnight. So the predicted volume on Linwood is well within the capacity of that roadway. When they talked about the intersections, they looked at it, and they currently have a level of service of which is A, which is actually the highest. And what the studies found was the level of the intersections would still perform in the range that a level service of A would be. So we don't anticipate a large drop in capacity in those intersections.
Thank you for that. Does that answer your question?
It does. Can you define, we talked about capacity of the roadway. I mean, I know you mentioned that component of it. There was some mention in here about how it's not going to, so additionally, queuing on all approaches is expected to be minimum not to exceed 100 feet. Is that kind of how we define what that means in terms of capacity and accommodation?
A lot of times the level of service looks at the queuing length. Okay. And also the time in which somebody has to sit in the queue. So level service A is the best the intersection can perform. Obviously, there will be some more traffic on there, so there will be a slight decrease, but not enough to knock it down to the next level of service, which would be a B.
Good.
Thank you. One
more
more
question. And if in the future we find out that this continues to be, it becomes an issue because the traffic is just out of this world, are there any future plans that the city are thinking about? What is kind of our plan B? Has the county and the city talked about what does that look like?
Certainly. So if traffic does become an issue at the intersection, what we would do is work with the county. A new study would be done to see how it actually is performing, and then we would follow the recommendations for that. So a signalized intersection would require, they'd have to meet certain warrants, certain levels of traffic and stuff to require a signal there. Turning it to a four-way, much like when we install a stop sign, we do a study, and we only make the changes when it meets the warrants to do so. So that is definitely an option if there is concern in the future after the development is built and we see how traffic is operating.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. I don't see any other lights. Is there anything else that you would like to add?
No, I don't think
Okay.
so. As you know, this has been over a year process for us, and so we feel that we're bringing forward a plan that we're all happy with, and we're excited to get started. So thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be over here if you have questions.
Now it is our time to discuss this. You may have been working on it for a year. The council has been embroiled in this for 6 years. Since January of 2019, I remember when the county was having budget hearings, and they announced at a budget hearing that they were planning on closing the golf course. That was how the city learned that the ponds was going to be closed. There was a brief delay in the closure, as I recall. And the city's response was to bring in consultants to help talk about what this development might look like. It was one thing, I think, to make it clear to everyone that the county owned the property. We are the zoning authority. And I recall the Perkins and Will consultants, we wound up with, I think, 3 different plans, or at least things that the community was interested in having at that particular site, recognizing as the zoning authority, we have certain limitations. If I had my wish, it would have remained a golf course because it was a beautiful golf course. But wishes don't work when you are a city council. And our goal switched, council members, if you remember, to trying to ensure that we got the best project possible for this absolutely beautiful piece of land. I do recall the county's plan, which is very different than what's being proposed tonight. The county was pretty insistent that they wanted high density, they wanted affordable housing, and the city council gave, I believe, our first direction at that time that, there's no transit necessarily in that area. It's basically a food desert, and there aren't any jobs close in proximity. And it just did not make any sense to do high-density housing at that location. And since then, there were RFPs and the county trying to determine who they were going to sell the property to. I have to say that it's probably the most studied, most evaluated, most planned, most discussed piece of property. But I think that goes to our credit, that we took the time to make sure that we get the absolute best project that we can get for our community. I have to say that I know that this has taken a lot of staff time. I appreciate the fact that D.R. Horton came to the council initially to get an impression on how we envisioned this property, because as you can tell, this property has been loved by our community, and there's still, I think, a certain sadness that there's not going to be a golf course there, but things change, and I have to say that I have been very impressed with the process that we have used. And I watched the community development and our different commissions weigh in on this. I appreciate all of the robust community engagement and the changes that D.R. Horton was willing to make. I think that you have exhibited patience But from a council perspective, I think we have done one great job making sure that this property is the best project that we can get. I listened to the Planning Commission, and I have to say that the Friends of the Maplewood Nature Center complimented D.R. Horton on the project in the way that the land is protected, that the wetlands are respected. Even the Rusty Patch Bumblebee that I learned a whole lot about because of this project was even taken into consideration. I think that as a council, we have turned over absolutely every stone, and we have looked at everything we possibly can within our zoning authority. And so I am at the point, after 6 years, good things come to those who wait. And I am very pleased that we are here. It's an exciting opportunity for our community. So I want to thank staff, and I want to thank D.R. Horton. I want to thank our community. Our commissions were invaluable in talking this through and helping this really be a community development that honors and respects a very important piece of land in our community. So those are my thoughts on it, but I want to hear from the rest of the council on your thoughts. I know Councilmember Cave, you wanted to jump in here too. Your thoughts on this?
Sure, I just want to thank staff again and D.R. Horton and the community for coming together and showing up at the meetings and giving ideas to D.R. Horton and the city to look at different studies, different things with this project. I do think, as the mayor said, we are not the sellers of this land. We are the ones that are controlling the zoning and what happens on it. A little different take. A lot of people at first thought we were the owners of it. Why would we get rid of it? We went through that whole rigmarole. I think from my point of view, this is the best. This is what we asked D.R. Horton to do when you first came. I think it was kind of shocking how we were like, that's not what we want. We didn't want this. But you got the message from us as the zoning, what we wanted to have on it, and I feel like you guys really worked with our community, which is important. From the north to the south, we want all community members to have a voice, and I believe you heard them. And I'm really excited for this project too, to start launching. So I appreciate all your help and all the citizens too who helped participate. Thank you.
Council members, anyone else want to weigh in? Councilmember Lee.
Thank you, Mayor. Ditto to everything the council has already said, but I do want to put it out there. I think community engagement in the work that we do is critical and important. And I think you guys had heard that way early on, and you guys committed to that. And I attended most of the meeting that you guys had in the community, and some of those conversations were good conversations, and some of them were hard conversations. And I think that this is how Maplewood does it, is this is how we build our community. I will just have to say it that, and I agree with my fellow council members and mayor that, the 3 years that I've been here on the council, this is the most, we really turned every single stone we possibly could. And when I say that, I mean it by the community engagement component of it. You guys have done your due diligence in doing that work. The questions that has gone to staff, there's just been plenty of conversations on what does that piece look like. I think I want us to remember and think about our conversations, the initial conversation we had with you guys is that we refer to this land as a gem of Maplewood. And when I think about that, it's a gem in Maplewood. And this, I think about the potential of having 200+ families calling this property home. I think that's a great opportunity. An important component that I hear a lot on this council is that we're looking for opportunities for families to build generational wealth, home ownership, if there's that possibility. And I think those are some of the possibilities that can come there. We talk about the gem of this property, about 47% of this property will maintain and stay green land, will stay, the natural wetland that it is. We're doing our due diligence in the green component of it, and at the same time, building responsibly. So I am excited to see what's going to come of this. I do want to just say that, through the many great conversations in our community, there's a good mixed bag of, and I say that because I can't tell you which direction our community leans in from the conversations. There are folks who wants to build this, there are folks who wants to keep it a golf course, and there are folks who want the golf course back. But what I'm thinking about is the future of our city, what the possibility that this property can bring to our cities and the homes that it can be. You can't list a house in Maplewood for more than 24 hours, and that's the reality of it. So, just want to say that.
Thank you. A couple of other points, too. I think that we're natural outgrowths of all of the hard work by staff and by council and discussion and community engagement. We're getting a new park that is going to be part of this development as well, and new trails that are also going to be connecting that entire parcel to the rest of the community, which I think are byproducts and really go to the fact that we have worked so hard to try to integrate this into the very best project that we can. Councilmember Juniman.
Well, I join my fellow council members in saying this was a long road, and there were a lot of people involved, and it's a good thing. When you have a piece of property like this, it has to be something that everyone that could possibly be a stakeholder has something to say about it if they wish. And I do believe that you had your engagement, and I think it was worthwhile for you as well as for us. It looks really good, and I hope it turns out exactly the way we want it to. I caution you to keep following every rule you hear about, because the end product matters. And I'm particularly, of course, as you gathered early on, interested in the environmental piece of this and the landscaping piece. And it's always important as far as I'm concerned, but it's particularly important on this piece of land, because what you're doing with those things affects what's already there that we are trying to protect. So I beg you to follow the rules through to the end. And I do think it will turn out to be a gem as much as you can with development. That's what we were trying to do. And as the mayor said, you can't have wishes, you have to have reality. And so what the reality is that people, everybody, staff in particular, but the involved residents as well, cared enough to make it known what we wanted. And I think that that's not terribly usual. Not every community affords people that option, and not every community listens like that. So I think you got a lot of help from staff and our residents as to how to make this a success. Thanks.
Well, council members, we have 6 recommended actions. Would someone like to start with the first motion?
Motion to approve a resolution amending the 2040 Comprehensive Plan's future land use map to re-guide the project properties from park to low-density residential.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by Cave. The first motion in our recommended list of actions. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Number 2, or B, I guess it is on here.
Motion to approve an ordinance amending Chapter 44 zoning of the Maplewood City Code to establish PUD-01 Century Ponds as a planned unit development district.
And Councilmember Cave, you're referring to the updated version
Yes.
that Ms. Parr gave
Yes.
us? Okay, so the updated
Per
version.
updated.
Thank you. We'll add updated to that motion.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Lee. The recommended action B as listed, as updated. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Moving on to C. Would someone like to make that motion?
I move to approve the resolution authorizing publication of the ordinance by title and summary.
Second.
Moved by Juniman, seconded by Cave. Recommended action C as listed in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. D, would someone like to make that motion?
Motion to approve a resolution for a wetland buffer variance.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Juniman. Recommended action D, as listed in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. The next motion.
Motion to approve a resolution for a preliminary plat.
Second.
Moved by Lee, seconded by, I heard Cave first. The motion, recommended action E in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion carries unanimously. And finally, we have our last one. Would someone like to make that?
Motion to approve a resolution for design review.
Second.
Moved by Cave, seconded by Villavicencio. Recommended action F, as listed in our packet. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all those, oh, I'm sorry, I did not see that light. Councilmember Juniman.
I want to give a plug and a caution at the same time. A plug for our design review people and a caution to you to stick to whatever they say through to the end. They are enormously important in all of our projects, enormously important. And if they say change something, they mean it. So please listen to them.
Thank you very much for that. It's been moved and seconded. We're looking at recommended action F. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes unanimously as well. Welcome to Century Ponds, to the development in Maplewood. 6 years in the making.
Thank you.
Good things come to those who wait.
Back with our final.
Thank you very much. Council members, we have no other agenda items, and with that, we are adjourned.